What? Again.
We're back.
We're back. Again.
It's them. It's the people.
It's the people. Episode 78 of the Blazor Puzzle. I'm Carl Franklin from AppVNext. That is Jeff Fritz from Microsoft. What's up, Jeff?
Hey, how you doing, Carl? 78 Blazor puzzles. That's a lot.
Yep, sure is. But it ain't as big as 79, which we'll do next week at Build.
Next week and Build. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
There's a .NET 10 preview that went out this week.
You don't have to go to Build to get that.
Nope. Don't need to go to Build to get that. But you're going to want to tune into Build if you want to know more about some of the cool stuff coming with Blazor, because some of our friends are going to be talking about it and showing off at Build.
All right. Well, let's jump into the puzzle because it's all about how slow does it go and how can we fix it. Roll the crazy music.
Oh my.
Yeah, isn't this an awesome class? Isn't this awesome?
It's so great.
Okay. Person, ID, name. What I've done is I created a local DB database.
Okay. SQL Server database on the metal, just the way Grandma used to make it.
Exactly. And it's demo, and I got one table here. It's called person. If you really need the script, we've included it, but it's pretty simple. So I have a data manager, and the data manager is added as a singleton. So right there, Builder Services add singleton data manager. And what this does is it wraps up all the stuff that we need to get going here. I have this generate data that creates 10,000 person records, person 0, person 1, person 2, et cetera, in a transaction. It's pretty zippy. And you just need to run that the first time that you come in to this application if you haven't already. Okay?
Okay. All right.
So let's assume that the data is there. Now, Data Manager has get all people, and get all people gets the configuration string, does a connection, opens it, select all these from person, reader.read, yada, yada, create a person, add it to people, return people. Okay. This should be no big deal to anybody.
ADO fun, just like we're used to seeing.
Exactly. We've been doing this kind of stuff for years. Okay, so here's the issue. Home Razor, right? Get all people and retrieve, should say 10,000 people from the data manager, and it works, right? We'll just run it. It's pretty fast because you know what? I have an i9 laptop.
Yeah,
and it's
10,000's not a lot.
It's not a lot for a local thing. However, what if we wanted to load test this thing? We would do something like this. Have a little console app called App Runner. Yep. And we want to simulate a whole bunch of clients hitting this thing at the same time. Basically just hammering it.
Get ready for the internet.
Exactly. So we're starting the load test and we go through this run load test async and we just keep hammering it and hammering it. And after every successful call.
Yeah. How long it took for that HTTP client to request.
Yeah. We show that request succeeded in however many milliseconds it happens. All right. So we'll run the app. And then I'm going to open up the bin directory where this test app runner is. Go to bin, debug, net9, and I'll just open a command window and say app runner. And here we go. And yeah, when you hammer it, it can take, over a second in some cases, right?
Congestion happens.
Congestion. That's right.
It's actually optimized a little bit. It's taken a third of a second in here now.
Yeah, it's down to a third of a second. But remember when it started, it was sometimes over a second.
Yeah, congestion.
So here's the puzzle. Where's the bottleneck and how do we fix it? And that is it. That is the puzzle. Now, if you want to know the answer, just stick around because we'll be back in a second to show it to you. But if you don't want to know it right away, just hit pause and come back when you're ready. We'll be here. Okay, so there's actually two solutions, right, Jeff?
Yeah, there's a couple ways you can approach this one.
So I did it one way and Jeff did it another way. What I'm doing is I'm adding a memory cache to my app. And so that means whenever I hit the database, I'm going to cache those calls to the database, the data that comes back. And I'm only going to do it for a second, and then we'll see what happens there. And this is how we do it. We Builder Services add memory cache and program. In Data Manager, I've added the memory cache here and the logger, injected those things. And now I have my get all people is now async. And then it's going to call this get all people from DB when it needs to get into the database. So what I'm doing, and I have this pragma warning to disable a null reference, which you don't need that. But, you know, if you want to avoid squiggly lines from the compiler swearing at you, you can put that in there. So this is it. Return await cache, get or create async. And this is a key. And here's the entry. And I have my absolute expiration relative to now set to 1 second. And then I call data get all people from DB. So basically what this does is it only calls this get all people from DB once a second. All right. In between, it's going to use the cache version.
There's values that are in memory.
Yeah. Right.
All right.
So let's run this and we'll get back to our app runner. Boomity boom boom. Okay, so there was a couple of ones that took a while, but only once every second. Otherwise, we're talking less than 100 milliseconds. So that is one solution. You cache it at the database.
Nice.
But you have another solution, do you not?
So an approach that I take with a couple of the websites that I run is I'll use the output cache so that we don't even make a request to the web server. It doesn't even hit that homepage, but instead pulls the rendered HTML out of either memory or some distributed caching location.
Okay. So how can I do that?
All right. So let's add in here builder.services.add_output_cache. There you go. And down lower in the using areas there, after use anti-forgery, let's do app.use_output_cache.
Okay.
There you go. Last place we need to go is in home razor.
Yep.
Up at the top, we're going to do an @attribute.
Cool. Okay.
And then square bracket, output cache.
All right. So can I specify how long to cache the output for?
Yes. So put some parentheses next to that output cache. And inside of there.
Duration.
Yeah, duration. There you go. And I believe duration is in milliseconds.
Okay. So that should be it.
That should do it. Go ahead, give that a shot.
Okay. Now I should also say we have the SQL cache in there too, but we should see a difference.
Oh yeah.
There we go. Whoa.
Hey there.
Smoking. Now let's just break here. That is wicked fast.
Your Boston showing on you there.
Now that is cool. So we're doing two things. I did the database cache, you did the output cache. And I remember back in ASP.NET web forms, you could do this, right? Output caching. And it's pretty significant. Even 1 second is pretty significant. And
Absolutely.
I'll tell you where I learned this. It was at a tech ed years and years ago. Richard Campbell and I used to host Speaker Idol, which is where we met.
Yes.
And Steve Smith did a talk at one of these. I don't know if this is the same one you were in, but he did a talk where he showed just like this, a bottleneck. And he said, how many seconds do you think an output cache would need to be in order to make this work? Somebody said a minute, 2 minutes, and he did it for 1 second. And there was no difference between 1 second and 2 minutes or 3 minutes.
Yep.
Because when you have something really hammering that database, and that's the bottleneck, just even 1 second is enough to relieve it.
It's amazing that it takes so little.
Yeah.
But, I mean, thinking bigger picture, if you do have a page that's pretty static, open up that output cache. Make it for a couple minutes. Make it for a couple hours.
That's right. Yeah. Cool. So I think we ought to send Steve Smith a Blazor Puzzle mug. What do you think?
Absolutely.
All right. And if you want a mug, you should send us your puzzle ideas with or without solutions by email to blazorpuzzle@appthenext.com. And you might get a mug, and you might get your name announced on the show, which is even more big time than a mug, right, Jeff?
Absolutely. I'm just thrilled that my name gets announced on this show.
Me too. All right. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Take care, friends.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to check out blazortrain.com and the .NETshow.com for more great content.